So, hello and welcome. My name is Laura, and I'm very happy to uh, provide for you and support you in this meditation series. This meditation series, Learn to Meditate, is going to be a series of 4 classes that I'm offering to help introduce people to the magic of meditation. We are such busy, busy beings. And we rarely have the opportunity to just be. We are these human doings, and we are designed to be human beings. So, the practice of meditation can help us to kind of calm our minds because of the constant external environment that is whirling around us and bring our awareness inside. So there are a few things that you'll need to make sure that you have for the meditation practice. So if this is your replay, then you can always pause once I've explained these things to get anything that you need. You'll need comfy supports. So meditation generally is done seated, but it doesn't have to be done cross-legged seated if that's not okay for your body. You could always sit up into a chair, which is perfect, grounding your feet on the earth, even having a support behind your spine. Because our core is fundamental in aligning our spine, we may find that we need some extra support. So you can always kind of back up to a wall if you're on the floor, or you have the back of a chair if you're seated. You could always take a cushion, like a bolster or a pillow in behind you in order to support your spine and help your spine remain tall. Because the spine houses those 6 main energy centers, and the seventh one is above us at the crown of the body. And when those energy centers are in alignment, then the prana, the breath, the energy, can flow up and down a lot smoother. So number one is making sure that we have comfort in where we're sitting. We can take props underneath us to ensure more comfort. So we can take blankets, we can take, extra towels and things to prop ourselves up so that we can get a little bit higher. Because if you are seated in cross-legged position, ideally you would like your knees to be a little lower than your hips. And the way that you can help that happen is by propping your sits bones up a little bit. If you need to kind of make any movements, gentle movements, you always can. And this is often why your meditation practice is coming after your asana practice. So we practice the asana practice, the practice of movement, in order to prepare our bodies to sit in meditation. And we'll start with slower or shorter amounts of meditation, and then we can build on that ourselves. So we make sure that we're comfy and supported, supporting our knees, supporting our spine, lengthening the crown of our heads to the sky. And you can roll your shoulders back a few times because you would like your shoulders to be soft, soften down, heart and chest space open. I like to draw my hands in a little bit closer to my body because it allows my arms to relax and reminds me not to reach, not to round forward. So you can do that as well if that serves you. It's important to also notice where your gaze is going to be. So there are different variations of your gaze when you're meditating, and you can either have your eyes open and then just very gently take your gaze kind of down the bridge of your nose, so narrowing it to a very, very fine gaze. Or in some lineages, they close their eyes. For me, I generally practice with my eyes closed, and you will find that while I'm guiding, my eyes will generally be closed as well, because for me it helps to shut out everything outside. Now, for some people who are really, really kind of busy in the mind, you'll find that closing the eyes will just kind of let that mind begin to chatter, especially in the beginning. So if that's you and you know that that chatter comes on as soon as you close your eyes, I'd say narrow the gaze down the bridge of your nose. Just very, very gently allow the eyes to slowly and gently just close a little bit so that you're not actually focusing on anything. It just becomes a very, very gentle gaze. And then Two more things. So you want your tongue to gently be resting at the tip of the mouth, and that kind of stimulates up into the third eye area, that point of intuition. So that place in the top of your mouth where your soft and your hard palate meet, you can just gently curl the tongue back there and rest it. And then last thing we say is to have a little bit of a smile on your face. So it doesn't have to be a big cheeky grin, but lips kind of corners turned up. And this is our seated posture that we will endeavor to hold for the duration of your practice. Now, if you find that something becomes very uncomfortable, and generally when we begin meditation, that can be the case, feel free to move. And as you come a little bit more to meditate on a regular basis, you'll find that you can hold positions for a little bit longer. So make sure that the spine is long, your body is supported, your eyes, gaze narrowed kind of down to the tip of your nose. Your tongue is gently kind of tucked back in the mouth toward the soft palate. Your shoulders are relaxed. And you have that gentle smile as we begin, first of all, to bring our awareness right to that tiny, tiny triangle, if you will, at the base of the nostrils. So that tiny triangle that includes both nostrils and kind of just the top of the upper lip. And we'll begin by just breathing in and out through our nose and cultivating an awareness of this area. And there'll be oftentimes when you begin to meditate, a lot of things that will come up. Am I doing it right? I can't feel it. What's happening? And what I want you to do is to just do your best to focus on that area and to begin to notice if you can feel any sensation. So notice if you can begin to feel the breath, kind of the cool air moving over the upper lip. Maybe you can begin to feel the breath moving up the nostrils, inside the nostrils. Maybe you can imagine what it would feel like if you could tune into that tiny bit of sensation, that fine sensation in the nostrils as the breath moves in. And we do this to begin to focus our mind on a very, very small point, to begin to sharpen the focus of our minds. Our minds are generally so broad, and we're well aware of gross sensations in our bodies. Oftentimes that's discomfort. But what we want to do with meditation is begin to refine and train our brain to become sharper. So tonight, through this practice of observing the breath, moving in through that space in each nostril, we begin that process of refinement. And each time the brain jumps in and you find yourself pulled away, which will no doubt happen many, many, many times, I want you to notice when you've become pulled away from your breath, from that small area, nostrils and upper lip, and bring your awareness back. And it can be very helpful to take a little bit of a deeper breath when you do that. So to deepen and lengthen the breath a little bit, give yourself that opportunity to reset and then come back in. And notice if as you're breathing, you are trying to take the breath deeper, or more expansively within yourself. And what we're trying to do is release any control over the breath. And that can be so difficult because oftentimes when we begin to take our mind to focus on a situation, the mind wants to take control right away. And what we're doing with our meditation practice is essentially training the mind to find that very, very minute level of focus so that we're no longer focused on thought. We can begin to connect with sensation within our bodies. So you may notice what comes up. It may be the same thing regularly. It may be kind of a whole bunch of different thoughts and even sensations in your body. And right now, we are taking our awareness solely into that breath. So, for some of us who have a meditation practice that's a little bit deeper, you may notice that sensation just above the upper lip. You might notice that breath in the nostrils, and you might be able to refine that awareness a little further and notice if the breath is moving in through the left nostril or the right nostril, or whether it's even in both nostrils. And this is merely a practice of observing. And that's exactly what meditation is about. It's about observing ourselves in each moment. It's very important as we begin to undertake a meditation practice not to let ourselves become frustrated when we're pulled away from our task of following the breath. Um, the mind has, for so long, been allowed to run rampant, and it takes time and effort and focus in order to bring it back. So, in those moments of quiet, notice the moment here and there of stillness, of connection with yourself, connection with your sensation. It's good to check in every little bit and to notice what's going on with the posture over your practice time. So notice if the shoulders begin to round forward, if the crown is still lengthened toward the sky, or if you still have your tongue kind of touching that soft palate. Are the corners of your mouth rolled up? Just gradually or gently in that little bit of a smile. And these are just all gentle reminders to come back to occasionally because as we focus, Sometimes we lose that posture that's most supportive for us. Notice if you become drawn away from your focus. Notice how often it happens and just acknowledge it on your journey. Through discomfort, we can grow. And for many of us with busy minds, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable not to allow the mind to wander and travel. And when the mind is wandering and traveling, depending on your thoughts, it's eliciting physiological responses in your body, chemical reactions, emotions arise, and it becomes this whole cycle. And we're using energy for all of this. And this is why people who suffer from anxiety often find themselves so very depleted. And it's not because they are constantly always physically active, it's because the mind doesn't stop. It's because they are constantly burning up their energy stores through thoughts. And this is why meditation is so important for so many of us. Because when we begin to stop those repetitive thought patterns that are continually plaguing us, we're able to take a step back and pause and reflect from a more objective place. So we're going to take a few final minutes of silence here. Remember, if your awareness travels away from the sensation in the nostrils, the upper lip, as soon as you notice it, you're going to bring it back, refining the mind to notice the finer sensations. So I'll ask you to take just these last few breaths here, acknowledging your journey in this first class. Maybe some moments of stillness, some moments of chatter, some moments in between. Regardless, notice how you're feeling. So, this is about that connection with the presence. We've stopped ourselves from our busy routines. We've sat ourselves down and we've taken the time for this self care and to begin to train the mind to become stiller and quieter. Really, so that inner guide and that inner teacher and any other supports that we have around us can be heard. So notice where you are, acknowledge where you are, and you can take your time to slowly and gently come back. If you feel like you would like to lay down for a few moments, feeling free. Thank you for joining tonight, whether you are live or watching this practice later on. I hope you'll join me for the remaining 3 classes in the series, where we'll continue to add on and to explore the practice of meditation. I will suggest that in order for you to continue to refine these skills, it would be very, very helpful for you to take a few minutes a day to practice what we're doing in each of the classes. So if you could take 5 to 10 minutes over the next few days just to practice that with awareness, breathing in through the nostrils and feeling that breath moving inside of you, it will help to train the brain and refine it to a finer level from that gross level of sensation that it's used to. So join me for class number 2. Thank you. It is an honor in guiding you and sharing space. Namaste.